Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. I found this cereal box and decided I could reuse this for something completely different. And I decided why not make a DIY that is completely made out of trash or junk items. So this cereal box was the perfect start for me. I cut it up into measured pieces and then hot glued it all together to make basically a base of what I was planning to make. I was gonna start simple with this one. I haven't really made boxes out of boxes, so I decided to just kind of go where my heart takes me and see what happens. And I think the end result is pretty good. So I'm just using items that are either trash or are single-use items. I, for example, also use some napkins and some paper bags. Just recycle everything, basically. We have so many paper bags, so I think it's perfect to add some of those into here. And it might also be great to use for you. So now that the frame is about done, I cut up, or ripped up more like a paper bag, and I'm going to use a mixture of glue and water. So what I'm going to do right now is basically what I would say paper mache. I'm not sure really what it is, but I'm basically just, gluing these pieces of paper onto the cardboard and covering up the ugly blue-red coloring, but also this helps really well with strength. The box is a lot stronger than it was, which honestly surprised me considering it's just a piece of paper. It's probably the glue combined with it as well. I'm gonna do this technique all over the whole box, at least once, and then I'm actually going in with the second one as well, just for some extra strength. It was not necessary at all, obviously. The box is pretty strong, but it's extra, so whatever. You can also use this as a texture. I personally did not use this because it wasn't the right texture I was going for. But you could if you wanted. So for the box itself, I decided to make some sort of edge, just to give a little bit more detail with some extra cardboard. So I'm gonna use that same glue water mixture to glue a napkin onto the box. Now, as you can see, it starts to wrinkle up a lot, and that's exactly what I was going for. I just let this dry really, really well after I was done. And I did this over the whole box, including the lid, which you're gonna see right around now. Actually, for the cap, the lid top, I used pieces of junk too. The round thing is a little plug for the glue that I was using, and the small stick was basically a thread holder. So I'm gonna do actually a second layer of the napkin because I wanted to have more of an in-depth, depth to the texture, because I wanted really strong textures. I wasn't sure why, I just felt like it. But this did end up being an advantage later on. I actually had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of let it guide me, I just kept adding until I thought the textures were pretty good and nice and deep, I guess. For the top, that was 3 napkins, and for the side of the box, it was 2. The sides, it's all of them. So I let this dry nicely. And I added some Mod Podge and glue to the top. I don't even know what to call that. The handle. So now I'm going to be using another paper bag, and I cut this up into 4x4 and 3x3 inch squares. And I'm going to fold these, as you can see here in the video, and cut them in that way So now I have some basic flowers. So I'm gonna need a lot of these, and I'm gonna cut these petal by petal. So I'm gonna cut one petal, and then 2 petals, and then 3 petals, all the way up till you get the full thing together. And then you're gonna glue the last petal to the first petal, and you kind of get a really crappy flower. And after I did this, I'm going to go ahead and curl the edges with whatever tool. Yes, I did cut myself pretty bad during this video, so you better leave a like for my suffering. And once I glue all these roses together, I'm just gonna go ahead and paint them a little bit with just some white, just to cover up the ugly red-brown differences. This turned out not to be necessary, but whatever. So next up, this is quite interesting. I'm gonna use some dried up clay that normally you would just throw away with some water, and I'm gonna make something called slip, which we are gonna be using in just a second. This is a hanger I found. I decided I could use this by cutting the little frame in little diamond shapes, as you can see here. So here we're gonna use that slip again. It's basically a very thin version of clay. This is a shelf liner that I bought at the Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna use it as a type of template to make just some sort of weird texture going on. I don't know what it was, but it worked out. I'm gonna use this. This is a combination between glue and Mod Podge and paint. Just get it all over that just for some security. This piece of paper back that I just also cut up, and I'm gonna use a piece of scrap fabric on top of that. This is just for some extra detail once again. I wasn't really sure what to add in the middle. I'm also gonna use one of those little diamonds that I just cut out, and on top of that I'm gonna add some fake, or real actually, dried flowers, just for some extra shits and giggles, I guess. On one of the sides I'm gonna add one of the flowers that I made a moment ago, and I'm also gonna add a flower on the top. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just paint everything white, just to give it a more of an equal, you know, a plain look in general. This would have been useful if I was gonna paint it a lighter color, but I ended up not doing that, so it was completely not useful. I glued another flower at the bottom of the handle, so we already have a pretty good base right here. And now it is time to paint everything black. Or I'm gonna paint it black, so there was no need for me to paint it all white. But you know what? Whatever. I wasn't sure what I was doing at this point. I was just gonna, once again, letting it guide me. And I went with black. Make sure you do this very thoughtfully, because it's super easy to miss some little corners and creases and whatever. And if you see more white through the black, it looks really unfinished and ugly, to be, in my opinion. I'm also gonna paint the lid. I'm just gonna paint everything black. This black paint was actually really good, surprisingly, because it only was like $3. And it covered really well, so I only needed to do like one real good layer, and just the second layer for some extra touch-ups. Now, it's starting to get all come together. I'm also gonna paint the inside black, by the way. It doesn't show up, so who cares, really? So I'm going to be making a mixture of turquoise and white to make a very light mintish color. I'm gonna dry brush this all over the box. Dry brushing is basically painting very lightly without water, making this very unique look, I think. And this is also important this is also why the textures were so important. Because I really wanted this to kind of glow, you know? Kind of pop out, and it worked, I think. I'm gonna use the detailed brushes to just get a little bit better into all the little corners and stuff. And we're gonna do the same to all the other sides of the boxes. We're gonna do this fully dry brush with this minty color. And the same goes for the lid. Now I'm gonna use some gold paint to just change it up a little bit. I'm gonna use it on the edges of the flowers and several details on the side of the box too. Just to change it up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting, I guess. And well, that's kind of it after this. It was pretty interesting to just use trash for a video. It really has to forcibly bring out your creative side, which isn't a bad thing. But it was a good first try, I think. So you guys just let me know what you think of it and leave a like and subscribe and all that stuff. And then I hope I'll see you next time. Bye bye!